History of helmets. Professional football players have always worn some kind of padded uniform. It was obvious from the start that they needed protection for their knees, shoulders, etc. However, the head and the face weren't always a priority. In fact, the earliest players wore no helmets at all. Over the years, the game evolved. Players became bigger, faster, and stronger. Helmets evolved too. Here's a look at how football went from no helmets to the space age helmets of today. One popular story is that the football helmet was born in 1893. According to the story, it all started with a U.S. Navy admiral. His name was Joseph Reeve. Every year, Army played Navy in a big football game. However, Reeves' doctor told him that he'd been kicked in the head too many times. He needed protective headgear or he'd have to sit out. Reeve refused to sit out, so he went to see a shoemaker. Reeves had him make a leather cap with ear flaps. It helped. For the next couple of decades, many football players wore similar soft leather caps. In the 1920s, stiffer leather helmets arrived. These were still not required. This lasted until the next big change came in 1939. That year, the Riddell Company introduced the first plastic helmet. Unfortunately, plastic was hard to come by during World War II. As a result, plastic helmets took a little while to catch on. By the late 1940s, plastic helmets were here to stay. Even better, Riddell started adding padding inside the helmets. In addition, the late 1940s is when teams started painting their helmets. There was still a big safety issue to be addressed. Players' faces were still vulnerable. In 1955, a single bar was added to the padded helmet. It wasn't required at first. However, by the 1960s, all players had face masks. Most were more complex than the single bar. Meanwhile, the helmet's brain's protection was becoming safer too. Thick foam padding was added and then other materials. By the mid 1980s, the NFL's helmets were very complex multi-layer protective shields. In 2004, Riddell introduced a helmet that was specifically engineered to decrease concussions. As you can see, safety has come a long way where football helmets are concerned.